please, you have to understand this is all a misunderstanding. I'm here to make things right.
In a town where power once crushed the powerless, one man's quiet dignity and relentless pursuit of truth would ignite a beacon of hope and change. In the opulent living room, the air was thick with tension, a palpable energy crackling beneath the surface. A grand chandelier hung overhead, its warm glow casting intricate shadows on the polished marble floor. There, kneeling with hands clasped in a gesture of pleading or apology, was a man whose casual attire starkly contrasted the luxurious surroundings. Vulnerability hung over him like a shroud, a stark reminder of his fall from grace. Before we go any further, pause for a moment and share in the comments. Where are you watching from? Do you believe power always reveals true character, or does it eventually expose it? Have you ever seen the tables turn when truth finally comes to light? And if you're drawn to powerful stories of justice, redemption, and dramatic reversals of fate, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Before him stood a woman in an elegant silver gown, her posture exuding an unyielding confidence. Beside her, a man in a sharp suit held her hand, his expression contemplative but resolute. Together, they formed an imposing presence, a united front in the face of the man's desperation. This was a moment heavy with unresolved emotions, a reversal of fortunes that had been long in coming. Once, the kneeling man had wielded power with a careless arrogance, reveling in his ability to belittle those he deemed beneath him. But now, the scales of justice had tipped, and the truth, like the chandelier's light, illuminated the hidden recesses of his deceit. The couple standing before him had been wronged, humiliated, when they were powerless to fight back. Yet, through resilience and truth, they reclaimed their strength, turning the tables on their tormentor. The woman's eyes, steady and unwavering, met his with a mixture of triumph and compassion. She had once been the subject of his ridicule, her dignity trampled under the weight of his cruelty. But now, in this opulent room where irony dripped from every opulent fixture, she stood transformed, no longer a victim, but a victor. As the man on the floor sought forgiveness, his voice barely a whisper against the grandeur surrounding them, the woman paused. Her response, poised and deliberate, would shape the next chapter of their intertwined destinies. Would she extend the hand of mercy, or would she let the past dictate the course of the future? In that moment, the atmosphere shifted, a subtle transition from confrontation to contemplation, setting the stage for a deeper exploration of redemption and justice. The truth, once hidden in shadows, had emerged to transform not just lives, but the very fabric of their world. In Silver Springs, a town nestled between rolling hills and sparkling rivers, lived a man named Robert Hayes, a janitor at the prestigious Silver Springs Academy. Robert's life was one of quiet resilience. Humble and unassuming, he moved through the halls of the academy like a shadow, often overlooked by those around him. Yet, beneath his unremarkable exterior lay a mind sharp and eager for knowledge. Each night, long after the last bell had rung, Robert would retreat to the library, a sanctuary where he devoured books on every subject. It was here that he nurtured a secret, a powerful truth that would one day alter the course of his life and the lives of those who had scorned him. The academy's elite, led by the arrogant Brandon, took pleasure in mocking Robert, their cruelty a daily ritual. But Robert, with quiet dignity, endured their taunts, believing that one day truth and knowledge would prevail. As whispers of unrest began to surface within the academy, Robert's resolve only strengthened. He had seen the signs, collected the evidence, and knew that when the time came, the truth he held would turn the tables. rendering his oppressors powerless. Now, as the light from the chandelier cast its glow over hidden truths, the stage was set for the unfolding of a tale where powerlessness gave way to vindication, and where the humiliated found their voice. In the heart of Silver Springs, where the air was crisp and the mornings came draped in mist, Robert Hayes began his day with the same quiet resilience that had defined his existence. The sun barely peeked over the horizon as he made his way to Silver Springs Academy, its imposing structure silhouetted against the pale light. To the world, he was just a janitor, a man whose presence was as unnoticed as the gentle breeze rustling through the trees. Yet, within his chest beat the heart of a warrior, fueled by the knowledge he had painstakingly gathered. Robert's mornings were a symphony of routine. He moved through the academy's corridors, mop in hand, his footsteps silent on the polished floors. Students rushed past him, their laughter echoing through the halls, oblivious to the man who swept away their discarded remnants. His eyes, however, missed nothing. Each detail, every whisper, was catalogued with precision. His kindness was a constant, a smile here, a helping hand there, even to those who mocked him. It was not in his nature to repay cruelty with bitterness. But beneath this veneer of normalcy lay a clandestine mission. Robert was not just a janitor. He was a silent observer, a collector of secrets. His sanctuary was the library, a place where he transformed from an invisible man into a seeker of truth. Nestled among the dusty tomes and forgotten knowledge, he meticulously documented the academy's hidden turmoil, the whispers of financial improprieties, the clandestine meetings. Each piece of evidence was a thread in a tapestry he was weaving, one that would soon ensnare those who thought themselves untouchable. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the academy grounds, Robert found himself in a precarious situation. He had been following a lead, a faint trail that suggested something was amiss with the academy's finances. It led him to the headmaster's office, a place where he had no business being. With the stealth of a practiced hunter, he slipped inside, his heart pounding in his chest. The room was a testament to opulence, with its mahogany desk and walls lined with leather-bound books. But Robert's attention was focused on the file cabinet, a potential treasure trove of information. As he rifled through the documents, the sound of footsteps in the hallway sent a jolt of fear through him. The headmaster was returning. With seconds to spare, Robert ducked behind the heavy drapes, the fabric cool against his skin. He held his breath, praying he would not be discovered. The headmaster entered, his presence filling the room with an air of authority. Robert's heart raced as he watched from his hiding place, the thrill of near discovery heightening his senses. When the headmaster finally left, Robert emerged, his resolve stronger than ever. He had narrowly escaped, but the risk was worth the knowledge he had gained. Every night, Robert pieced together the puzzle, his mind a labyrinth of connections and revelations. He knew he was onto something significant. The academy, revered for its prestige, was rotting from within, and Robert was determined to expose the corruption. He documented everything with meticulous care, ensuring that when the time came, the truth would be undeniable. His diligence was relentless, his intellect sharp, his persistence unwavering. Yet, the academy was not blind to the undercurrents of unrest. Whispers of financial discrepancies began to surface, subtle yet persistent. The students, those who bothered to notice Robert, began to sense the tension in the air. Teachers exchanged furtive glances, their conversations hushed. The headmaster, once a paragon of confidence, seemed distracted, his eyes clouded with a worry he could not conceal. Robert moved through this world of whispered secrets and hidden agendas with a quiet determination. He was an underestimated man, dismissed by those who failed to see beyond the surface. But he knew the power of his knowledge, the strength of his convictions. The academy, a symbol of power and privilege, would soon tremble under the weight of the truths he carried. As the days turned into weeks, Robert's resolve only deepened. He was a man on a mission, driven by the injustices he had endured and the hope of vindication. The stage was set for a reckoning, and Robert Hayes, the janitor with a warrior's heart, was ready to step into the light. In the quiet corners of Silver Springs Academy, a storm was brewing, one that would change the course of many lives. And at its center stood a man who had been invisible for far too long, poised to reveal the truths that would reshape their world. The morning sun rose over Silver Springs with an unusual brightness, casting its golden hue across the town. Yet, beneath this serene surface, an undercurrent of tension simmered, ready to erupt. The peace was shattered when the news broke, a scandal of unprecedented proportions, revealing the rot at the heart of Silver Springs Academy. Headlines screamed of embezzlement, corruption, and betrayal. The town was in shock. The revelation hit like a thunderclap, sending ripples through the community. Parents gathered in hushed groups, their voices tinged with disbelief and anger. Students, once indifferent, now buzzed with curiosity and speculation, their whispers echoing through the academy's hallowed halls. Teachers, caught in the crossfire, exchanged wary glances, their authority undermined. The headmaster, once the epitome of respect and power, was now the face of scandal, his reputation crumbling under the weight of truth. In the midst of this chaos stood Robert Hayes, the janitor whose quiet determination had set this avalanche in motion. The man who had once been invisible was now the center of attention, his evidence the linchpin in the unraveling narrative. With unwavering resolve, Robert stepped forward, presenting his meticulously compiled records to the authorities. Every document, every piece of evidence meticulously gathered over months was laid bare for the world to see. The townspeople watched in awe as Robert, once dismissed and underestimated, emerged as a beacon of integrity and courage. His revelations were undeniable, each fact a nail in the coffin of the Academy's carefully constructed facade. The community's reactions were a tapestry of emotion, shock at the depth of the deception, anger at the breach of trust, and admiration for the man who had dared to expose it all. But not everyone was ready to embrace this new reality. In the shadowed corridors of the Academy, a confrontation brewed. Brandon, the ringleader of those who had once tormented Robert, now stood before him, his bravado replaced by uncertainty. His friends flanked him, their faces pale and earnest, the weight of their family's involvement in the scandal dawning on them. Robert faced them with a calm he hadn't felt before. Gone were the days of hiding and fear. He met their eyes, steady and unflinching, as Brandon spoke, his voice tinged with a mix of defiance and desperation. "You think you're some kind of hero now, huh?" Brandon sneered, though his tone lacked its usual conviction. "You think this changes anything?" Robert's gaze didn't waver. "It changes everything," he replied, his voice firm and unwavering. "The truth has a way of doing that." For a moment, silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken words. The realization of their families' downfall, their own complicity, and the shifting power dynamics settled over Brandon and his friends. The roles had indeed reversed, leaving them grappling with the consequences of their actions. Brandon shifted uncomfortably, his bravado cracking under the pressure. "I didn't know," he muttered barely. Audible. "None of us did." Robert nodded, understanding the complexity of their situation. "Maybe not, but now you do. And it's up to you what you do with that knowledge." The group stood there, a tableau of youthful uncertainty and regret. Within their eyes, the seeds of understanding and change began to take root. Robert could see it, the potential for growth, the chance for redemption. It was a flicker of hope in a world that had been shrouded in darkness for too long. As the confrontation dissolved, Robert turned away, leaving them to ponder their choices. He walked through the academy's hallways, his steps lighter, his heart unburdened. The journey was far from over, but this chapter had reached its pivotal moment. The truth was out, and with it came the promise of a new beginning, a chance for healing and transformation. In the days that followed, Silver Springs slowly began to heal. The academy, once a symbol of prestige and privilege, now stood as a reminder of the power of truth and the courage it took to expose it. Robert Hayes, the janitor with a warrior's heart, had reshaped the narrative, turning his past humiliations into a tale of redemption and justice. As the community grappled with the aftermath, Robert remained a constant presence, guiding them toward a future defined by integrity and accountability. The storm had passed, leaving a clearer sky in its wake. And as Robert looked out over Silver Springs, he knew that his journey was far from over. There were still challenges to face, battles to fight, but he faced them with a newfound strength and a belief in the transformative power of truth. The stage was set for the next chapter, and Robert was ready to embrace it with open arms. The once unshakable hierarchy of Silver Springs Academy was crumbling. The downfall of the corrupt staff sent shockwaves through the institution, leaving chaos in its wake. Whispers echoed through the grand hallways, where students and faculty alike grappled with the revelations that had turned their world upside down. Brandon and his friends, who once walked with an air of invincibility, now found themselves at the center of a maelstrom, their reputations tarnished, their futures uncertain. In the days following the disclosure, the academy buzzed with unease. The staff members who had perpetuated injustice and favoritism were no longer seen in the corridors. Their offices, once symbols of authority, were now vacant, serving as stark reminders of their abrupt exits. The very foundation of power and privilege at Silver Springs had been shaken, leaving a void that demanded introspection and reform. For Brandon, the fall from grace was particularly jarring. The confidence he once wielded like a weapon was now replaced by a vulnerability he had never experienced. He wandered the campus with a shadow of his former swagger, the weight of his actions pressing heavily upon him. His friends, too, were caught in the crossfire, their complicity exposed and their roles in the scandal undeniable. They moved through their days with a newfound humility, the arrogance of their past replaced by a somber awareness of their own fallibility. Amidst the turmoil, Robert Hayes stood as a beacon of resilience and integrity. The community's perception of him transformed as the truth of his struggle emerged. No longer dismissed as merely the janitor, Robert was now seen as the courageous figure who had dared to challenge the status quo. His actions, once mocked, were now lauded as the catalyst for change, and the academy buzzed with stories of his bravery. The faculty, grappling with the scandal's aftermath, reached out to Robert with an unexpected offer. They extended an invitation for him to take on a prestigious position within the academy, a role that would place him at the forefront of their efforts to rebuild and reform. It was an acknowledgement of his insight and perseverance, a chance to influence the institution from within. But Robert, ever humble and true to his principles, declined the offer. He had no interest in titles or accolades. Instead, he chose to continue his studies, to delve deeper into the world of knowledge that had empowered him. For Robert, the journey was not about climbing the social ladder, but about staying true to himself and the values that had guided him through the darkest of times. In quiet moments of reflection, Robert pondered the path he had walked, from the humiliation and scorn he had endured to becoming a key figure in unraveling the scandal. His journey had been nothing short of transformative. He found solace in the knowledge that he had remained steadfast in his principles, even when the world seemed determined to crush him. The vindication he felt was not born from the downfall of others, but from the realization that truth and integrity had prevailed. As Silver Springs Academy sought to rebuild, Robert became a quiet force of influence, guiding those willing to learn from the past. He walked the halls with a quiet confidence, knowing that his role was not defined by power but by the impact of his actions. The Academy, once a symbol of privilege, now stood at the brink of a new era, one where justice and accountability were not just ideals, but foundational truths. The chaos of the past began to settle, leaving behind a clearer path forward. Robert looked out over the Academy grounds, the weight of his journey settling into a profound sense of peace. The truth had indeed changed everything, and with it came the promise of healing and transformation. Silver Springs was poised for a renaissance, and Robert was ready to embrace the next chapter with open arms, knowing that the true measure of success lay not in power or prestige, but in the unwavering pursuit of justice and integrity. And so, the stage was set for the future, a future where Robert's journey from humiliation to heroism would inspire others to stand up for what was right, to seek truth in the face of adversity, and to find strength in the power of their convictions. The storm had passed, leaving a legacy of hope and resilience in its wake. The morning sun cast a gentle glow over Silver Springs Academy, warming the air with the promise of a new beginning. Robert stood by the window of the study hall, watching students pass by, their laughter a harmonious chorus of hope. The Academy, once a fortress of privilege and exclusion, was transforming into a sanctuary of learning and growth. But amidst this change, one figure approached with a heavy heart and a purpose that spoke of redemption. Brandon walked through the halls with a sense of trepidation, each step a reminder of the path he had walked, a path that had once been paved with arrogance and cruelty. Today, however, he was not the same person. The scandal had stripped away his facade, leaving him vulnerable, yet determined to make amends. He found Robert seated at a table, engrossed in a book, the picture of serenity. "Robert," Brandon began, his voice tinged with a mixture of hesitation and resolve. "I need to talk to you." Robert looked up, meeting Brandon's gaze. There was no anger or resentment in his eyes, only a calm curiosity. "Of course," he replied, closing his book and giving Brandon his full attention. Brandon shifted uncomfortably, the weight of his past actions pressing heavily upon him. "I owe you an apology," he said earnestly. "For everything. For the way I treated you, for the things I did. I was wrong, and I see that now." The words hung in the air, a testament to the transformation that had begun within him. Robert listened, his expression one of quiet contemplation. He understood the courage it took for Brandon to confront his past, to acknowledge his mistakes. "You know," Robert said softly, "it's never easy to face the truth about ourselves, but recognizing it is the first step toward change." Brandon nodded, his shoulders relaxing as if a burden had been lifted. "I want to be better," he confessed. "I want to learn from this and make things right, not just with you, but with everyone I've wronged." Robert smiled, a gesture of genuine warmth and encouragement. "Then you're already on the right path," he said. "We all have the capacity to change, Brandon. It's what we do with that opportunity that defines us." The sincerity in Robert's words struck a chord within Brandon. He realized that redemption was not about erasing the past, but about learning from it and choosing a different future. It was a lesson he had learned from watching Robert, whose unwavering integrity had become a beacon of hope for others. As the days turned into weeks, Brandon and his friends embarked on a journey of transformation. They sought forgiveness from those they had hurt, and in the process, discovered the power of empathy and understanding. It was not an easy journey, but it was one they undertook with genuine intent. Their efforts did not go unnoticed. The Academy, inspired by Robert's example and the willingness of its students to change, began to foster an environment of healing and inclusion. Workshops on empathy and respect became a staple of the curriculum, and the school culture shifted toward one that embraced diversity and kindness. The town, too, began to reflect this newfound spirit of community and support. Events were organized to bring people together to celebrate unity and the strength that came from embracing differences. The scandal that had once threatened to tear them apart now served as a catalyst for growth and reconciliation. Robert watched these changes unfold with a sense of quiet satisfaction. He had never sought recognition or accolades, yet his influence was undeniable. By choosing to stand firm in his principles, he had inspired others to do the same. The Academy was evolving into a place where justice and accountability were more than ideals, they were lived experiences. One afternoon, as Robert walked through the Academy grounds, he was joined by Brandon. They strolled in companionable silence, the air filled with the fragrance of blooming flowers, a symbol of renewal and hope. "Thank you, Robert," Brandon said eventually, his voice sincere, "for everything. I don't know where I'd be if it weren't for you." Robert chuckled softly. "You would have found your way, I'm sure of it," he replied. "Sometimes we just need someone to remind us of the path we want to take." As they continued their walk, the Academy stood as a testament to the power of change, both in its physical transformation and in the hearts of those who called it home. The storm had passed, leaving behind a legacy of resilience and hope. In the end, it was not the downfall of others that marked Robert's triumph, but the rising tide of understanding and compassion that had swept through the community. He had found peace not in revenge, but in the realization that true strength lay in the ability to forgive and to inspire others to seek a better path. And so, Silver Springs Academy stood on the brink of a new era, its foundation strengthened by the values of justice and integrity. Robert was ready to embrace the next chapter, knowing that his journey was far from over. It was a journey that would continue to inspire others, to remind them of the power of truth, and to encourage them to stand up for what was right. The future was bright, and with it came the promise of healing and transformation, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. The transformation of Silver Springs Academy was nothing short of remarkable. Under new leadership, the school became a beacon of integrity and transparency, a shining example of what could be achieved when truth was given its rightful place at the heart of an institution. The halls that once echoed with whispers of scandal and deceit now resonated with the vibrant energy of renewal and hope. The curriculum had been revamped, focusing not just on academic excellence, but also on moral and ethical education, instilling values that would guide students throughout their lives. In classrooms, discussions on ethics and integrity became commonplace, encouraging students to question, to understand, and to uphold the principles of honesty and fairness. Teachers, once wary of speaking out, now embraced an open-door policy, fostering an environment where students felt safe and empowered to voice their concerns. The spirit of community was palpable, uniting staff and students in a shared vision of what Silver Springs could become a place where everyone was valued and every voice was heard. Robert found himself at the heart of this metamorphosis. His journey, once fraught with adversity, had led him to a place of quiet influence and respect. The Academy, recognizing his unwavering commitment to truth, had opened its doors wide, providing him with resources and opportunities that were previously beyond reach. With access to a wealth of knowledge and support, Robert delved deeper into his studies, driven by an insatiable curiosity and a desire to make a meaningful contribution to the world. His pursuit of knowledge was not just academic, it was personal. Each discovery, each insight, was a step towards understanding the complexities of human nature and the power of truth. The library became his sanctuary, a place where he could lose himself in the pages of history and philosophy, drawing parallels between past and present, and envisioning a future shaped by integrity and justice. Outside the confines of academia, Robert's story resonated far beyond the walls of Silver Springs. In the community, he was hailed as a symbol of hope and change, a testament to the power of one individual to ignite transformation. His story inspired others to stand up for what was right, to seek truth in their own lives, and to believe in the possibility of a better tomorrow. Parents, educators, and community leaders looked to him as a beacon of integrity, his journey serving as a reminder that even the darkest circumstances could be overcome with courage and conviction. As Robert walked through the town, he was often stopped by those who wanted to express their gratitude or share how his journey had impacted their lives. He listened with humility, always reminded of the collective strength that had emerged from a shared commitment to truth and justice. For Robert, the recognition was not an end but a beginning, a call to continue advocating for change, to inspire others to seek their own paths of integrity. Reflecting on the journey that had brought him here, Robert understood the enduring power of truth. It was a force that transcended individual experiences, capable of transforming lives and communities for the better. The truth, he realized, was not just a concept but a living, breathing entity that demanded to be honored and upheld. It was a guiding light in the darkness, a compass that pointed towards justice and redemption. In the quiet moments, when the world around him seemed to pause, Robert would think about the future of Silver Springs Academy and the community it served. He envisioned a place where every student, regardless of their background, could thrive in an environment that celebrated diversity and encouraged the pursuit of truth. He imagined a town where understanding and compassion were woven into the very fabric of daily life, creating a legacy of resilience and hope for generations to come. The journey was far from over, but Robert faced the future with a sense of purpose and optimism. The Academy, now a testament to the power of change, stood on the brink of a new era, one defined by justice, integrity, and the unyielding pursuit of truth. As the sun set over Silver Springs, casting a golden glow over the town, Robert knew that the dawn of a new chapter was just beginning. And so, with each step he took, Robert carried forward the lessons of his journey, a reminder that true strength lay not in seeking revenge, but in the capacity to forgive and inspire others to seek a better path. The future was bright, and with it came the promise of healing and transformation, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Before you go, tell us in the comments. Do you believe true power is about control or about integrity and truth? What lesson did this moment leave with you? Your thoughts matter, and your voice could inspire someone who's still waiting for justice. And don't forget to subscribe for more compelling stories of truth, resilience, and quiet victories where the powerless rise and justice finally speaks. The next story may surprise you.